As you were? Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the Township's YouTube page. Can I get a motion to confirm the agenda as printed? Councillor Milligan, Deputy Reeve Davison, all in favor? That's carried. I should mention that Councillor Lalande is joining us remotely. And Councillor Lalande, if you wish to make a motion or a comment, you're very tiny in my vision, so speak up if I've missed your hand. Okay, thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? None declared. So we have two statutory public meetings regarding zoning issues. And the first one, 4.1, is a zoning bylaw amendment application for file number ZON 2025-0002. This public meeting is being held in accordance with provisions of Section 3412 of the Planning Act, and the proposed amendment applies to the property municipally described as 2017 Centreville Road. The purpose of the application is to satisfy a condition of the provisionally approved consent application, CON 2025-0009, to rezone the proposed severed parcel from rural zone to an open space exception zone to restrict the permitted uses on the property to conservation uses, with the exception zoning to additionally permit the continuation of the existing agricultural uses on the property. A portion of the proposed retained parcel is to be rezoned from rural zone to a hamlet residential exception zone to recognize the location of the lands within the hamlet of Centreville boundary and ensure conformity with the Township of Stone Mills official plan. The proposed exception zoning is intended to permit the continuation of the existing agricultural use on the property. The portion of the retained lands is located outside the hamlet boundary and will remain within the rural RU zone. Council shall hear in person or by his or her counsel, solicitor, or agent any person who claims to be affected by this application. The recommendation is that the planning report be received and that 2026-X, not numbered yet, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2014-744 to change from rural zone to open space exception zone and hamlet residential exception HR zone be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Do you need a motion ahead of the discussion at this point?
No, I'd let the planner present and then take public comments.
Okay. So who wishes to address this, this zoning issue at this point? Yes, would you give your name, and the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you. And through the Reeve, my name is Holly Newitt, and I am a registered professional planner with FO10 Planning and Design. I'm here this evening to answer any questions that may be brought by the public or members of council.
Thank you. So do you want to hear if there are any questions right away? Any questions or comments on the report? You know what? I should have declared a conflict of interest on this one. It just occurred to me. Doug, would you take the chair for the remainder of this particular item? Because, of course, this is property that I have farmed myself and my son farms. Brandy, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Reeve Wise. I was just going to ask for the reasoning that you were declaring, but you've noted it.
Yeah.
Ahead and ask if there's any comments or concerns anybody wants to raise on this issue. Go ahead.
Pardon me, I have a bit of a cold, folks. I apologize if I'm hacking here. There was description of there would be continued ag use of this property. I seem to recall that there was a time limit on it when we last saw this. I think it was 5 years, if maybe I stand corrected on that. I don't see any mention here, again, I could have missed it, of a time limit on it going forward. I don't, if somebody could elaborate on that, that'd be great.
It is my thank you, through the Reeve. It is my understanding that the property owner does intend to extend agricultural uses for the next 5 years. However, this is not something that is typically captured in zoning. We don't include time limits through the zoning bylaw. So the uses for zoning purposes will be able to continue in perpetuity. It will be at the owner's discretion when those agricultural uses end.
That's great, thank you. Yeah, as we all know, we're trying to preserve farmland in the township and actually in all of Ontario as much as possible whenever it can be done. And I'm glad to see that there will be some. I sincerely hope that the owner of the property, when the 5 years comes up, possibly consider an extension on that if it seems fit for both parties. But I'm glad to hear that.
Any other comments? There was a written concern come in. Holly, are you prepared to address that written concern?
I am.
Okay.
The written concern was predominantly regarding continued agriculture on the proposed severed lot or the northern portion of the property. It is, as I mentioned, the intention of both the current and future owner of that parcel to continue agricultural operations into the future. The zoning bylaw will not imply a time limit on those operations. There was also a question regarding the ongoing LEAR study being performed by the county. Should these lands be included within the LEAR study and be redesignated to agricultural, it would not be in conflict with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. So open space conservation uses and agricultural uses would continue to conform with an agricultural designation should that redesignation go forward.
Thank you, Holly. Anyone else you want to know?
You just want to ask the public. There was no other written comment.
No other written comments? Okay. So can we have the question then? Could you read it, please, Brandy?
Through you, Deputy Reeve. So the motion would be that the planning report entitled zoning bylaw amendment application ZON 2025-002 be received in that bylaw 2026 to be numbered being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2014-744, Township of Stone Mill zoning bylaw, zone change from rural zone to open space, and hamlet residential exception HR zone be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and clerk be authorized to sign and seal. So we'll need a mover and a seconder.
How does council wish to proceed? Mover and seconder? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Councillor Woodcock. Sorry, Sherry. Councillor Milligan, Councillor Woodcock. You got that? Okay. Council, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. Motion's carried. Okay, turn it back to John. Yep.
Thanks, Doug. So the next public meeting zoning bylaw amendment application is file number ZON 2025-0005. And the public meeting's being held under the same provisions as the previous one. And the purpose of this application is to satisfy a condition of the previously approved consent application. Excuse me, I think I've got a bit of that cold too, Rob. The purpose of this application is to satisfy a condition of the provisionally approved consent applications CON 2025-0012 and CON 2025-13 to rezone the proposed severed parcels from the rural zone to the hamlet residential zone. The proposed retained parcel will remain within the rural zone. This application relates to consent applications CON 2025-0012 and CON 2025-13, which were provisionally approved on May 8th, 2025. The proposed amendment applies to the property municipally described as 4240 County Road 6. Council shall hear in person or by his or her counsel, solicitor or agent, any person who claims to be affected by this application. So who is speaking to this application? You again, Holly. No surprise. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, and through the Reeve. I'm Holly Newitt. I'm a planner with FOTEM Planning and Design, and I am here this evening to answer any questions that may arise on this file.
Any questions or comments, both from council or the public? Go ahead, Councillor Fenwick.
Yeah, this is This is pretty cool. This is exactly what you hope to see. We've got a piece of property, and of course, when I first saw this, I'm like, oh no, another farm being broken up. But it's not. In fact, it's nice to see that the farmland is being retained in two nice little lots that will hopefully eventually become tax-paying hamlet homes in there in Moscow and be part of that community. And I just think that's wonderful, and this is the kind of thing that just makes me happy. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Councillor Fenwick. Was there another comment or question from anyone? Then we have a recommendation that the report entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application ZON 2025-0005 be received, and that a bylaw, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2014-744, that's our township zoning bylaw, be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get a mover and second for that, please? Yeah, go ahead. Councillor Woodcock.
Yeah, so I also like the retaining of the farmland there. So just, it is being reserved, it was rural, standard rural, and now it's being going hamlet residential. Will that impact at all, like it, and that expanding to other areas? Because so it's technically outside of, is it outside of the normal boundary of hamlet residential, and so it's being added, or what? How is that? Like what I mean is the hamlet boundary, that's what I'm looking for, where it's.
Go ahead, Holly.
Thank you, and through the Reeve. So both properties are within the hamlet boundary. The hamlet boundary is included in the official plan. The property was originally is currently zoned rural to reflect the balance of the property being outside of that hamlet boundary. Because these severed parcels will be fully within the hamlet boundary, the kind of trigger or the purpose for the rezoning is to make sure that the zoning conforms with the official plan. So the hamlet residential will match the hamlet designation that are on the sites.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Could I get a mover and seconder then? Deputy Reeve Davison moves. Councillor Fenwick seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So, before we get into the bulk of the meeting, we normally have an open forum section before the meeting. Has anyone signed up for that, Randy? Okay. We have no presentations or deputations. Items for consideration. 8.1, special event bylaw update. The recommendation is this report be received, and that bylaw 2026, not numbered yet, being a bylaw to regulate and permit special events, be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and clerk be authorized to sign and seal. That the proposed set fines found on Schedule A of the bylaw be supported, and the clerk be authorized to submit an application to the Ontario Court of Justice for approval of set fines, and that the administrative monetary penalties bylaw be brought back to a future council meeting which incorporates penalties for failure to comply with the special events bylaw. Can I get that on the floor with a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Fenwick and Councillor McDonald. Thank you. Clerk Teeple, did you wish to speak to this report?
Nothing further to add to the report, Reeve-wise. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions or comments on this? Councillor Fenwick, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the work on this. I know that our previous special event bylaw needed a bit of an overhaul. That's why we overhauled it. But I am a little concerned about the removal of exemption. It's not that I don't trust staff to make the right choice about what ones to exempt and what ones not to. I also don't like the idea per se of picking events that happen annually and just giving them a blanket exemption. I think we should continue to have exemption policy, but ask people to ask for it, so that at least on a event by event basis based on its own merits, council can make the decision. We might have one where we don't necessarily exempt the whole thing, we just exempt a portion of the requirements, and then some we say we're good with, but it should probably be up to council to make that decision, and that's just my opinion.
Any other comment or question? Yes, go ahead, Wenda. Thanks, Councillor Lalonde. Anyone else? Councillor Milligan.
So I have to agree with the last two folks. I mean, I organize many things in the township as well, and I certainly, I mean, this is so cumbersome, but I don't know if this is coming from a place where we have to have a special event bylaw, but maybe it doesn't have to be so strict. I just see so many events just being canceled if it's so, like, when they use the word cumbersome. You know, I think of the fairs with the church ladies with their bake sales and stuff. I mean, they're not, are they gonna be even allowed to have them without, public health certificates and all? It's just, things just won't happen if we have all these roadblocks. I don't know what to do about it. I know if we do need to have something, then I think we'll have to go back somehow and have another chat about how to do it for the different groups.
Thanks, Councillor Milligan. Deputy Reeve Davison.
Yeah, I've got to echo those words in somewhat. I think we do need some rules, some guidelines, but I've heard from two organizations that have concerns that previously had no issues with the way it was done in the past. So I'm wondering if we really need to reconsider this myself.
Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Woodcock.
I was just going to say, well, if that's how people are feeling, we could always move ahead with and exempt that. But I would want to hear from Brandy also. Just like, I mean, remove that first section of the update.
Thank you. Randy.
Through you, Reeve-Wise, thank you for the comments, Council. What was difficult in the previous bylaw is there was a clause about applying for an exemption to council, and there was no, applicants weren't required to provide proof of anything or why they should get an exemption. So it makes it difficult for staff and for council to make decisions with no clarity on why exemptions are given. The requirements in the bylaw are there to protect not only the municipality, but also to the residents and the people coming from out of the area when they're attending the special events. So it's in no way to make it, I know it looks daunting when individuals apply for it. Staff do our best to work with applicants when they come forward with an application. And the intention is that for reoccurring events, rather than providing an exemption, is staff can give approval to that. So we won't be seeking the same information year after year if it's not changing. If it's static and it remains the same, then we just note that in the file. If they do have any updated information, we just request that information. Like the proof from KFL&A that an inspection has taken place for the safety of the food, that's for the protection of the residents and those attending, just for an example. If they're serving alcohol, if you have a special event permit in place, you should be requiring that proof that they have an alcohol permit. Having that bylaw in place and then not asking for those proofs of those items being done, it just wouldn't look favorable upon the municipality if something did happen, because it just takes that one time. But I hear council's feedback, and it is daunting to small community groups.
Councillor Fenwick.
Yeah, thank you, Brandy, for that. It's not hard to understand where you're coming from. I actually wrote down 1 through 8 here based on the bylaw itself. And the first one, obviously, the removal of the exemption possibility being a concern, as everybody stated. But I also see that you, in I think 5 here, removal of the requirement of the applicant to notify a fire, police, and county ambulance services, and include a provision that upon approval, township staff would do those things. I think that's wonderful. It takes the burden off of the event provider to have to do that. So it's not hard to tell that this isn't designed specifically to create roadblocks for these people. This particular number 5 is designed to help them. So I do believe that the best intentions are certainly in mind here. We just have to balance things, and that's always difficult. Number 4 I have here, introduction of AMP penalties, which to those that aren't aware, that means administrative monetary penalties, fines, and short-term wording for fines. Of course, that scares people, but there does have to be some teeth in things for those that may abuse the situation. We haven't had that in the past, but it's not to say it won't happen in the future. So it is a difficult one to discuss with all this. Number 8, that is updated insurance requirements for greater clarity and simplicity. I know from organizing my own events, our group had to pay $350 for 2 hours with the money going to charity. We almost didn't break even because of it, but it is a requirement, and it was one of those things that protected the township and the people who own the property. I was okay with that, but it is a tough pill to swallow. I get a feeling that maybe we need to have a little more discussion about this. I know this was put off until this meeting because I was unable to attend the prior meeting. I'm not sure how to proceed with this. Maybe we need to have some more discussion about it. Maybe we need to speak with these groups that put on these events and see if we can find middle ground that works for everybody. I'm looking for suggestions in that. Is this something we absolutely have to do tonight? Or is this something we can just converse and reach out to these people and find out what is the middle ground for this?
Thanks, Rob. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Woodcock.
I mean, I always love more public input, but I also think contained within this is that those annual events sort of become approved by staff because they're already established, they already know. I think the removal of the $1,000 deposit sounds really good. I'm still open-minded, but I do think a lot of these annual events, this is actually taking a weight off of them in so many ways and putting it on staff and in a way that is actually more efficient for everyone, especially when it comes to notifying the fire police. Like, you'll already have those contacts. You'll know exactly who to call. I mean, I suppose you hand that to people anyway, but there's a lot of things here that also streamline and smooth the process for those events, so.
Thank you, Crystal. Yes, go ahead, Brandy.
Through you, Reeve-Wise. So if council wishes, we can just receive the report for information purposes, and we can defer it to a committee of the whole discussion. If you want further discussion, you could just receive for information and request that staff do a public engagement or consultation. Or you could approve as it is. Policies, bylaws, they can change. If council sees it's not working, we can always amend the bylaw in the future and tweak it and make changes as needed. So of those, of those 3 options, if there's consensus, you could pick one of those 3.
That's great. Thanks, Brandy. Sorry, John.
That's fine.
Jumping in on you there.
That's all right. Yeah, so whatever council decides, what I liked about what Brandy just said, and I'm sure it's occurred to everyone too. First of all, I don't know how many groups we're talking about here that have annual events that have taken offense or are frightened by this proposal. It can't be more than a dozen.
A dozen?
Yeah.
That sounds boring.
Yeah. We know who they are among all of us. It would seem reasonable to just contact them, say, we understand your concern and the fact that you were a bit put off by this. We do have what we consider prudent obligations of a liability nature, to put it awkwardly. Insurance drives a lot of this stuff, right? And we're being responsible to the taxpayers to at least have this covered. But also point out, as Brandy was saying, and as some have mentioned, if these are regular annual events, this can be streamlined. It's one meeting with each group, go through the difficult parts, get it all set up, and subsequently, it's a piece of cake. Groups that come in from outside, like Sideburn, they're used to dealing with these kind of things. To them, that's no big deal. They probably sign agreements and applications like this throughout the province all the time. It's our residents and our volunteers that we're obviously concerned about. So I'd like a motion from someone to facilitate. Oh, Jason, did you have a comment?
Just one more piece is that, I think you touched on it, is that to a certain degree, some of these events are a victim of their own success. They've grown over the years. There's a lot of community turnout to these, and many of the aspects that are being asked for any event that's running at a certain size, I would strongly recommend that they have many of these things in place. So if you're having a large number of people turning out to your event and there isn't, some emergency planning and some of these insurance pieces and whatnot, regardless of if it gets pulled back from within the bylaw, it's still highly recommended that anybody who's running an event that brings a large group of people together have many of these pieces in place for their own edification. And you touched on the last piece is that many of the decisions that are happening in townships across the province are more seen through a risk lens than they used to be. Much like we didn't have seatbelts in the car at one point, right? It's just that our own insurance and our own liability does drive a lot of that discussion, and that's why it's not been put together out of lack of, it's just we're looking for a problem to solve for the sake of it. And so it has been put together with quite care and an opportunity to try and pull some of those things back that were causing friction, like the emergency notification and the services notification and the deposit pieces, in order to try and strike a balance. And yes, it is an additional set of requirements, but many of those requirements are still strongly recommended regardless of the event.
Thanks, Jason. So can someone craft a motion to satisfy concerns or at least get the ball rolling to modify this? Councillor Fenwick?
I'd be content to make a motion that we take this to committee of the whole and discuss this further. We can have a little conversation deeper in depth.
Second for that motion, Councillor Milligan. Second that. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Milligan.
I was just thinking, once we get this all sorted out, whenever that may be, if we shouldn't do some kind of campaign or on our Facebook or website, that's the word, like a did you know that this is required, and tell them why it's required, not just because we want to put roadblocks, but and then there won't be the last minute, like what do you mean you're planning that, you need this. So I think the people have no idea about the special event permits.
Thank you. Anyone else? At some point oh yes, go ahead, Councillor Woodcock.
I would almost side with not committee of the whole, but like deferral while reaching out to community groups. I feel like committee of the whole is a bit more of a commitment than some of this discussion may require, but I'm also don't feel that strongly about it. But like you said, 12 groups or whatever, and communicating out and asking for input, I feel like some of that could be done in a way that isn't a committee of the whole, but I'm also, again, don't feel so strongly either way.
Or we could invite some of those groups to the committee of the whole meeting. Kill two birds. We don't have to include that in a motion. That can be decided. Yeah. Yes, Councillor Milligan.
I was just going to say, what if we do committee of the whole and then give people the opportunity, then there's not 1,000 new ideas, right? Yeah.
Okay. Are we satisfied with that then? All in favor? That's carried. Is that all you need for now, Brandy? Thank you. Okay. Moving on. Oh, what do you know? We have a special event permit coming up. Flame Ontario 2026 special event permit application. This will fall under our existing legislation. The motion would be the application be received, council approve the special event permit for the 2026 Sideburn event, and council authorize the Reeve clerk to execute a land use agreement, and that the fee for the use of land be in the amount of $10,000, and that council provide a noise exemption for the Sideburn event on the conditions that the event organizers follow the sound policy as attached to this report and included with the land use agreement, or that council provide direction. So I won't ask for a motion at this time since there is an alternative here. Is anyone joining us from, no? Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Okay, great, you're here. Yeah. Any comments or questions from council for Flame Ontario? Wanda, go ahead. Brandy?
Through you, Reeve-Wise, I have not received any complaints from the public about it.
Yeah, it's been running smoothly for a few years now. So, does anyone want to make the motion based on the first three options there? Councillor Milligan, seconder, Councillor McDonald, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. You're in. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Council. 8.3, Centreville Cemetery Acquisition. Excuse me. Recommendation is that the report entitled Centreville Secretary Acquisition. No. Centreville Cemetery Acquisition be received. Good night. That the minutes submitted by the Centreville United Church be received and supported, and that the request from the Centreville Cemetery Board to have the township assume operation of the cemetery located at 72 Lake Road in Centreville be received, and that staff be authorized to undertake the necessary steps to have the Centreville Cemetery property and operating license transferred to the township. Can I get that motion on the floor, please? Deputy Reeve Davidson, Councillor Milligan. Did you want to elaborate on this report, Clerk Teeple?
Sure, thank you, Reeve-Wise. So we have received a request from the Centreville Cemetery Board to assume operations and licensing over the Centreville Cemetery. Under the Funeral, Burial, Cremations Act, the process is that a cemetery board that can no longer operate, they're to request that the municipality take over their operations. If the municipality denies that, they can essentially file with the government and have that overturned, and then the operations automatically go to the local municipality. So in a roundabout way, it comes to the local municipality no matter what. So the cemetery board has indicated, like many cemetery boards across Ontario, that they no longer have funds to operate the cemetery. It's my understanding that it's mainly the maintenance. There's very few interments and there's no remaining plots for sale. We do have Richard with us, who is on the board or helps with the board, and he's with the United Church if there's any questions. But they're seeking the municipality to take over the cemetery there. So it'll be a twofold process. The land is owned by the Centreville United Church, and the licensing is to operate the cemetery is with the cemetery board. So the township will need to assume the license to operate the cemetery, and then also have the lands transferred into our ownership.
Thanks, Brandy. Any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor McDonald.
I just have one question. I'm not even sure where it is, and is the Centreville the same as the Reedville one? Are they not two of the same?
I don't know if the Centreville Cemetery operates the Reedville. Maybe Richard has further information on that.
Richard, can you answer that one?
My understanding, two separate licenses, two separate boards. Reedville is still an operating board with...
Yeah, go ahead, Brandy. Do you want to just, yeah.
So clarification has been provided that they are two different cemetery licenses operated by two different boards.
Okay. And there's two cemeteries up Lake Road, Richard. Is it the first one from the village or the second one?
I believe it's the first one. I'm fairly new to the area.
Right.
But I believe it's just, my understanding, it's where the old United Church was before it burned 40, 50 years ago.
Okay, so it's just past the fairgrounds. Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought. Deputy Reeve Davison.
Yeah, Richard, do you know that when we go up the Lake Road there, that you got the two cemeteries, are they both coming or just one? One's called the Pioneer Cemetery.
No, again, it's separate. There is a Milligan Pioneer Cemetery, and there is also the Reedville Cemetery. We just have the updated financial report for the church, and both of those are there, and it's public information, but the Reedville's got like $45,000 the problem with the Centreville is, they have no money left. And the problem was, there was only one member of the board left, and she's 90 years old. She could not get anybody else to step up and assist her in sort of looking after it, and the church for the last 2 years has been paying for the maintenance. I did say in my initial letter, I think in 2024, the total cost was about 2,200. Last summer was a lot better. It was only about 1,400 that we paid out, the church did, in order to look after it. But it's a financial burden and with no other income and no trust funds.
Thank you. Anything else? So, we have a motion. All in favor? That's carried. So the business of transfer can go ahead then. Richard, thank you. Sorry, Wendy, I forgot you wouldn't be hearing that without it mic'd. Okay, thank you. Okay, good. 8.4, bylaw to change the title of Reeve and Deputy Reeve to Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Recommend a motion. The bylaw to change the title from Reeve and Deputy Reeve to Mayor and Deputy Mayor be passed, and the Reeve and Clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Councillor MacDonald, Councillor Fenwick. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. You didn't want to speak to that, did you, Brandy? Sorry. It's pretty simple. I don't know if Doug and I should have declared a conflict or not, Doug. It doesn't matter. And I'm hoping that we don't expect the expense of printing out a whole bunch of little cards for the next 9 months that say Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Let's just hold off on that till the next term. So 8.5, that's a minor item, adoption of the 2026 budget. Recommendation is that the 2026 general levy for operating and capital budgets be approved as follows. A township operating levy, tax levy requirement of 5.99 million, and a township B, township capital tax levy of 1.539 million, and a special Newburgh waste levy requirement of $10,900. And 2, that the 2026 general tax rate for operating and capital budget be received as follows. A township operating and capital residential tax rate of 0.00729,647, and a Newburgh waste residential tax rate of 0.000144439, and that bylaw, being a bylaw to adopt the estimates of all sums required for 2026, be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and Clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get that on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan, Deputy Reeve Davison. Any discussion? Well, I'm pleased that this has run fairly smoothly. Staff presented us with a very well drawn up budget, carefully analyzed. We had good discussions about some minor details, and I'm pleased to see that it is apparently going to be passed if I call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. You got money now. Go do things, staff. Yeah, we already got our new desks. You were going out on a limb before we passed that budget. 8.6, delegation of planning authority to Chief Administrative Office. Recommendation is that the report entitled Delegation of Planning Authority to Chief Administration Officer, I should have read that in the introduction, be received, and that a bylaw to delegate the authority to grant consents, site plan control, and validation certificates to the CAO or designate, and to repeal bylaw 2022-1139 be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and Clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get that on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan, Deputy Reeve Davison, did you wish to elaborate or comment on this one? Jason.
Thank you, through you, Reeve Wise. This arises out of the fact that we've had staffing changes and structural changes to the way we deliver planning at the township. Specifically, the bylaw that's being repealed, it's very specifically designated the manager of development services, which is a title that nobody in the current structure holds. And then in consultation with our external planning consultant and our new planner, internal planner, it was decided that the most prudent course of action is to have a position that is unlikely to change in title be in the bylaw, and then have the provision for or designate as part of that bylaw to allow for the assignment of these duties within the provisions of the bylaw, allow for continued delivery of the obligations that we have. These delegated authorities are required and are not, it's not a role that at this time council or the Committee of Adjustment is able to take on, and has been done so through the Planning Act and updates through the legislation there. So this is a housekeeping matter to allow for staff to continue in their legislative duties under these types of applications. I'd be happy to answer any questions or have somebody in the planning department answer any questions that the council may have on this issue.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions or comments? Councillor Woodcock?
So yeah, a couple things. When the CEO chooses who the designate will be, is that provided to council? Do we know when a designate is being selected to make these decisions, just in terms of transparency? Yeah, that's one. I've got a few.
Okay, Jason.
I would be putting it in writing and filing it.
Another one. One of the lines is that if it has no unresolved objections or concerns received from a technical review agencies or members of the public, what constitutes or who decides if an issue is resolved or unresolved if we get a complaint from the public? And also just want to footnote, why I think this is important is, trust you, but under strong mayor powers, if we were going to designate like more centralized control to a CAO, the reality is in the next election, you could have a mayor who can just replace a CA. Like there's problems in democracy and good governance, just in general with increasing like centralization and decision making. And under that strong mayor is like, if we put this down as a bylaw, this could go somewhere we don't want it to go. So that's kind of my pause in terms of taking a look at this.
Go ahead, Jason.
I might get somebody to weigh in on this, but it's my understanding that any kind of objection to a file would trigger a requirement to go to a Committee of Adjustment for review. To determine something would be resolved, somebody would actually have to put in writing that they withdraw their objection so that it can proceed. And I don't know if there's anything else you would want to add to that comment.
Holly, did you want to?
That is correct. So if a member of the public, sorry, thank you, and through the reeve, if a member of the public submits a complaint regarding an application that would regularly proceed with the Committee of Adjustment or with council, it would then be called up. But it is my understanding that the majority of the delegated authority provisions that are currently being sought are to do with subdivision agreements, things of that nature, site plans, that already have approved delegated authority through the Planning Act. So it's not necessarily a creep of scope in that sense. It is more a title change, being that no one in the township staff currently holds the title that currently holds delegated authority powers.
Thank you. Councillor Woodcock?
Yeah, and the one other part, I would like a little change, section 9, where it's the CAO or designate shall provide regular reports to council as appropriate. I think it would be good to define what as appropriate is, whether that's quarterly, something, because as appropriate is kind of wide open. And again, I'm not thinking about right now, I'm just trying to think if this is how we're going to craft it, like thinking, down the line. But I'm also open to what that is. I don't know what people find as appropriate.
Jason, what do you think of that?
So reporting would be required through this, but it's not necessarily that there would be enough volume in a quarter to even report. So I don't believe that there's an option not to report in the way this is structured. So a report would be forthcoming. It's just if it's appropriate, it would be triggered by the fact that there's actually the use of delegated authority versus saying quarterly and saying on a regular basis, potentially, I have nothing to report.
Councillor McDonald.
I guess my question is, why can't we keep it, approve it, but keep it vacant? And the other concern, we've had development activities increase in the past, and we were very fortunate to have a planner right on site. So can we say in the next 3 to 5 years what would happen if if we had to recreate this position because of such an increase?
Through your revise, so right now we're in a little bit of a limbo. We are required to have somebody, and right now we don't have that title. And so the way this is structured is to give us the flexibility so that if we were to create a position that would be similar to what we had before, and we wanted to designate that person, that we could do that through administrative processes rather than updating the bylaw again. And then we also, are taking steps to ensure that we have the capacity to do that internally. We do have our new planner with us now, but he does not have the title of development services. It is my hope, or not hope, but it is a strategic decision to use the title of CAO in the bylaw, because the expectation is that you would always have a CAO, but the organization may change, and titles may change related to the planning roles, and the designation could be updated accordingly should those changes happen. But again, I just want to stress, we are in a bit of a limbo right now because we are obligated to have somebody who has this authority, and right now, the way the bylaw is written, we don't have somebody, and we do have files that we anticipate that we need to be able to process through this legislative requirement.
Anything further? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Land.
Through you, revise, I'll answer real quick, and then we'll have Mike also weigh in as well. Again, this was done in consultation with our new planner. So this was advice that I received from our external planning agency and our new planner as to how to best proceed and what they've seen in other municipalities with similar structures. But it also gives us the ability, if we were able to update his title to say something like senior planner or manager of this or that, that we would be able to, again, follow a bouncing ball as far as how the evolution occurs. We would not have to come back to council for every title change that happens. But Mike, if you would like to weigh in as well.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. So through you, Mr. Mayor, I was pretty much just going to say exactly what Jason said. The purpose of designating it to the CAO is just to provide flexibility. If, since planner, the title isn't an integral position to the municipality, if I were to leave or if I were to be on extended leave or something, this position would be vacant and it wouldn't be filled. Whereas if the CAO, similar thing were to happen, an interim CAO is appointed and that person can just take the authority and it just works continuously. And also in the bylaw, the CAO has the ability to delegate this authority to whoever they see fit reasonably, which could be the planner, inside consultants, or myself. So it just provides flexibility and stability going forward for the municipality to do it in this way.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Wendy. Crystal Lee.
So it was advised that other municipalities have the CAO in this role. Was that your advice? Can you speak to that? And I want to say, Because that's a problem with the new strong mayor powers, right? If we're giving that much power to CEO, and especially when it comes to development approvals, this next election, municipal election, based on those powers, we're gonna have some unsavory people who are gonna seek that seat of power, and we're gonna have to have guardrails to make sure that we get outcomes that are for the public interest.
Jason?
Just for clarification, the strong mayor's powers did not update the Planning Act in this way. This is the province updating the Planning Act.
Yeah, but the strong mayor powers allow a mayor to fire and appoint a CAO, and that could be someone that you know, it could be your buddy, it could be someone who shares your financial interests. That's what I'm talking about. And democracy is under attack everywhere, and so I think we have a responsibility to have some hesitation around these kinds of decisions.
Go ahead, Jason.
Just, I think the guardrail, and I'm not disagreeing with the political concern there, is the undisputed fact. Anybody that has an issue with a file that may be fall under the delegated authority will automatically trigger the traditional process of going through those larger committees and review. I think if I was trying to get inside the head of the province, it's about streamlining the process of routine, standard, undisputed files that have to wait for a committee of adjustment or and go through that extra steps when it would be just a formality at those meetings when there's no dispute. And again, anything that I'd be signing with this delegated authority would be putting side by side with a planner's signature, and they're putting their own professional designation and their own authority on that, regardless of the delegated authority piece. So I would not be signing something that doesn't have a planner's recommendation and authority on it as well.
Okay, does that satisfy everyone for the time being? Any further discussion or comment? Did I get a mover and seconder? Good for me. One more? Go ahead, Crystal Lee.
I would motion that we do amend for quarterly reporting, and then even if there's nothing to report, then you simply say there's nothing to report. And I'm not thinking about now, again, I'm trying to think about down the road. We don't know where things are going in the next municipal election.
So, Sherry, are you content?
I'm fine with that.
Moving on to 8.7, subdivision agreement, Warner Pasture subdivision. The recommendation is that the report entitled subdivision agreement, Warner Pasture, be received, and that being a bylaw to authorize the entering into a subdivision agreement between Thomas Developments Incorporated and the Township of Stone Mills be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get this on the floor, please? Councillor McDonald. Councillor Fenwick, thank you. So, our planning consultant, Holly Newitt from FOTEN, has prepared this report. Holly, did you wish to say anything in addition to the written report?
I'll just provide a brief summary for everyone's benefit. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing approved the draft plan of subdivision for the development known as Warner Pasture in 2011. An extension of the draft approval for the plan of subdivision was passed in 2023 by the County of Lennox and Addington to provide the owner with an opportunity to continue to clear the conditions of draft approval. The applicant is working on fulfilling the draft conditions of approval and is now ready to enter into subdivision agreement with the municipality. The subdivision agreement is a legally binding registered contract between the landowner/developer and does travel on the title of the land and the Township of Stone Mills. The registration of a subdivision agreement with the Township of Stone Mills represents a significant condition of final approval for the development, but it does not equate to final approval for the subdivision. And I am happy to take any questions that there may be.
Thanks, Holly. Any questions or comments from council? Deputy Reeve Davison, go ahead.
Holly. Holly, I've been around a little while, and I happened to be here when this subdivision first come up and went through all the iterations that it's gone through. And there's a condition missing here, and I'm trying to understand why it's missing or how it got missing. And that condition was, the draft plan of subdivision, when it was originally passed, was for 25 houses, 25 lots. And there was a condition of approval on the draft plan of subdivision that they had agreement to proceed with 19 lots, then do a hydro G before they finished the remaining 6 lots. Okay? Subsequent to that, 1 lot was taken out of the subdivision, so it's now 24 lots, not 25. But I'm wondering, and the reason for that condition was in there is that there's water problems in the area. And the hydro Gs didn't recognize that, didn't prove that they were not going to have those problems going forward. That's why the second hydro G was asked for. Can you enlighten me on this, please?
Of course. Thank you, through the Reeve. So in the evaluation in 2023, when an extension was granted, the draft conditions were reviewed and slightly amended. This is one of the conditions that was amended at that time. The MECP, the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, determined that this requirement was no longer needed. The reduction of the number of lots to 24 and the resulting increased lot area for each lot between 0.8 and 1 hectare satisfied their requirements in terms of subsequent hydro-Gs that have been completed through the technical process. So the MECP determined that that draft condition was no longer required, and it moved forward without that in the 2023 decision from the County of Lennox and Addington.
Go ahead, Doug.
So you're telling me that the reduction of 1 lot made the difference, and it was the provincial government that made this condition?
The provincial government is the one who determined that that condition was no longer required, and it was a combination of a reduction of lots. My understanding is that the original application was for 35 lots, presented a significant reduction to 24, and the resulting lot area that they were able to accommodate is in line with typical rural residential development, being 0.8 to 1 hectare. I understand that there were also subsequent hydrogeological reports that were completed and submitted beyond the one that was included in the original 2011 package that satisfied their concerns in that regard.
Can we, is there any way that we can ask for that condition to be put back in?
Not through this process. We are not at final plan of subdivision. However, the requirement for final is to complete to the satisfaction of the municipality all of the draft conditions that were included within the extension that was provided in 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? So actually, the original application was for 49 lots. And through a long process of education, council heard from local residents, one of whom kept accurate records of the static level of his well before and after major rain events, and it varied tremendously, many feet. So we realized that there was, if not karst, there was certainly limestone features there that allowed for a lot of lateral transfer of water. And so council retained a hydrogeologist to look at the original application, and he took seriously those local reports, looked at the hydro-Gs that had been done by the proponent and so on. And that's how we got down to the 25, subsequently 24 lots. But my recollection is that when it came back to us, it did come back to the county, but I have a vague recollection that the approval of those conditions which had removed the phasing to do 19 lots, wait for I forget, a prescribed length of time to see what effect the water well usage had on the overall hydro-G situation, then approve the remaining, well, it would be 5 lots now, that condition stayed in. There was a vote, whether it was here after we got back our approval authority for subdivisions or at county on the request of the township, that condition remained. Can the ministry override a municipal decision about the conditions for subdivision approval?
Through the Reeve, my understanding from a legal perspective is that the province is able to override that kind of determination. I do have the correspondence dated April 17th, 2020 from the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks confirming that that condition is no longer required per their review.
And I think I remember seeing that, and despite that, I believe that either county or township council voted to say, no, we want that to stay in there. I had the same concern as Doug. Obviously, in reviewing the agenda over the weekend, I had no time to look through the records and minutes of either county or township council on this topic. But I'm wondering if council wants to proceed with the recommended motion here this evening, or get clarification on this situation. Yes, Councillor Fenwick.
I'd be happy to get clarification on this. This sounds like a pretty important thing to talk about, for sure. So who I seconded to put on the floor? Do I remove that?
Who was our mover, Brandy?
Through you, Reeve-wise, I have moved by Councillor McDonald and seconded by Councillor Fenwick that the recommendations as presented on the agenda be approved. So if it's agreeable to the mover and seconder to withdraw the motion, and the rest of council, if it's not agreeable to all, then you have to vote on it.
Okay. Is that agreeable to you, Wendy, to have a second look at this? And to you, the seconder?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we need a vote then to withdraw that motion? No? No, because we haven't voted on it yet. So what is council's wishes? It doesn't have to be the same mover and seconder. It's whoever chooses to speak to it.
I would like to have a second look at it.
Is moving then deferral?
Deferral until we clear up this phasing question on hydro-G after 19 lots.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Thank you. Any further discussion? I would add, Holly, and perhaps you could clarify this for me, somewhere in the conditions, it does refer to this being a phased development. But I thought that referred to the 19 lots and later on then 24. Was that language left in there inadvertently, or does it refer to another phasing situation?
That I will have to come back with clarity on. The agreement itself was prepared by the previous planning consultant as well as the legal team. So I'm not familiar with the language specifically in it or the purpose of why it was included.
Yeah, I should have made note of the page. It's in there. It says this is a phased development, and I'm sure that was in reference to this concern about the hydrogeology. Any further discussion? Yes, Brandy.
Just for clarity for staff, so council is deferring the report and staff are going to review previous minutes by council and whether a council motion can override or whether the province overrides a council decision on that matter. Is that clear?
Would that be the substance of the motion then, Doug? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really concerned about it because on the Bennett subdivision, the province overrode us, the municipal board overrode us on that one. We took a lot out and they put it back in.
Right. So we may be hamstrung no matter what, but at least we should. Let's find out. Yeah. Okay. Are you good, Brandy? Okay. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, 8.8, county maintenance overage. The recommended motion is that the report entitled 2025 County Maintenance Overage be received and that council approves a transfer of $103,040 from TS Capital Equipment Reserve to cover the shortfall. Can I get a mover and seconder to put that on the floor? Councillor Milligan and Deputy Reeve Davison. And this is Manager of Public Works Thompson. Not a surprise, I guess, Jeff.
Thank you, Reeve Wise. Yeah, not a surprise. We've been carrying this for the past few years, I guess. The good news is 2026, with the new agreement, we will be paid 100% of our time above 90% in the new agreement. So we won't have any of those overage costs of if people are familiar with the 90 to 110%. One thing I want to draw your attention to is the hourly rate on equipment. So the county rate, they set their rate, and it's the OPS 127, and it's 80% of the standard rate. So we bill our equipment out at $91.44 an hour, or we bill ourselves out at $64.33 at our own municipal rate. Where's the rate? I believe it's in the middle somewhere. We're doing an analysis right now with our current fleet on repairs, outside labor, inside municipal labor, and fuel cost to come up with that hourly rate. And we may have to increase our rate, but I'm hoping that the county rate lowers a little bit to meet those performance measures.
Thanks, Jeff. Any questions or comments for Mr. Thompson? Councillor Fenwick.
I do have one piece of good news, Jeff. Diesel hit $2 a liter, and the snow seems to be melting.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you, Rob. Anyone else? Okay, we have a mover and seconder. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. 8.9, water control infrastructure asset management plan payment reconciliation with Quinte Conservation. The recommendation is that this report be received and that council authorize the treasurer to transfer the reconciled outstanding balance from the RCS Quinte Cataraqui Conservation Authority Reserve to Quinte Conservation upon receipt and verification of the formal invoice. A mover and seconder for this one, please. Councillor Milligan. Councillor McDonald. Anita, anything to add to your report or point out?
Yes, through you, Reeve Wise. The Quinte Conservation, as we know, we have been putting money aside into a special reserve for their capital water control structures over the years, and they have submitted a request and an invoice for us. They've currently, on our behalf, and including the 2026, will be paying out $388,801. And we've collected $199,693, so they are requesting a payment to offset some of their expenses that they've incurred over the last couple of years.
You, Treasurer Raymond, any questions or comments from council? Yes, Councillor Fenwick.
Just a quick question. I know that when we had a representative from the QRC here in the past, they were talking about rehabilitation and other options for the third Depot Lake Dam. I wasn't sure if we had heard any more about that and if they'd settled on anything, or I was just very curious about that.
I have no idea. Crystal Lee, any news on where the status of the third?
That one, it's not settled, and often those discussions are, I think, came around money, but it isn't settled yet. I think it's multiple options are being explored.
Yeah, so that's about the same. Yeah, and that'll be closed session discussion until they decide on a course of action, I guess. Anything else? Yes, Councillor Davison.
Yeah, if they're asking for 300 and some thousand, do they detail what work they're going to do in our township? if any?
Treasurer Raymond.
Through you, revised, they have provided us with a project identification, the number of years in which they've already incurred project costs, and our portion of the project costs that they are working on and have worked on. If you like a copy, I can make it available to you and send it to you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Wenda.
Through you, revise, yes.
Okay. Anyone else? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 8.10, Stone Mills Housing Development Project, County of Lennox and Addington Property Development Request. Recommendation is that the report be received and that council authorize staff to negotiate the terms of a property transfer agreement with the county for the land located to the east of the existing affordable housing development in Tamworth for the purpose of expanding affordable housing, subject to the following conditions: property transfer at nominal consideration of $1, county assumption of all development, estimated up to $75,000 per lot, county assumption of all planning, engineering, and legal costs associated with lot severance, resizing, rezoning, and site development, reversion clause ensuring property returns to the township should it be deemed surplus to county housing or social service needs, property to be used exclusively for social services, housing, or daycare purposes, and 2, that council authorize staff to work with the county to finalize the configuration of lots, including any necessary resizing of existing lots to accommodate proper site planning, and 3, the council authorized staff to provide an in-kind planning support to the county where appropriate to facilitate the efficient processing of the development, and 4, that upon identification of the proposed lots by size and configuration, staff report back to council in accordance with the township's land disposition policy, with the proposed land to be declared surplus and recommendations included as to the best way in which the land should be disposed, and that land be declared surplus by way of council resolution prior to any property transfer. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Milligan, Councillor McDonald. Jason.
Do you revise the plan, I guess, from the county is in order to be in the best position possible, should funding become available, that they would have projects ready to go, AKA shovel ready. So the proposal here is not necessarily that it's a guarantee that these pieces of property will be developed with additional buildings on them, but to get in a position for the possibility. And then if they do work on the land in such a way that it enhances the land, and then it gets to the point where it doesn't seem feasible, or there isn't going to be plans to have that be a shovel-ready project for future funding, that potentially we would be getting the property back in an enhanced state because of the work that they do. Any engineering or any reporting or any work that they do on the property potentially would come back our way if it's not successful in attracting the funding required to develop. I believe the money that is indicated in the report, around the $75,000, was proposed in this year's county budget and was discussed at that level prior to bringing this forward to this council as a proposal. I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have on this.
Questions, council? Go ahead, council.
No questions, just yay. I mean, we need more affordable housing. The market is not going to solve this crisis, so.
Thank you, Councillor Woodcock. Anyone else? Did I get a mover and seconder? I did. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. Is there any item anyone wishes to pull from the consent agenda? Councillor Woodcock?
9.9, 9.17, and 9.2.
9.2, 9.9, and 9.17. Anyone else? Councillor Fenwick.
Just 914.
914. Okay, anyone else? Okay, can I get a mover and seconder for the balance of the consent agenda, please? Councillor Milligan, Councillor McDonald, tag team. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. So, Councillor Woodcock, can we start with 9.2, just to stay in order here? This is a confirmation of the minutes of the special session of council, no?
9.20 I meant.
Oh, 9.20, I
Apologies,
didn't
yeah.
hear the zero.
I might have just said 2.
Okay, let's start with 9.9
looking at my
then,
numbers
just to
here,
follow in order. So 9.9
Yeah.
is
The-
Quinte Conservation Board of Directors position on the regional consolidation of Ontario's 36 conservation authorities. And what did you wish to address?
Yeah, well, we have supported several letters around the amalgamation of conservation areas, and this is our own local conservation areas take, and I think we should support it. Sort of as I touched on earlier, we are seeing sort of a concentration, centralization, loss of local voices in so many of our institutions, and this is just another one of those. And it is in opposition. It is also stating we are for streamlining and modernization, but we are not for a loss of local control by a political appointee, and also that loss of connection to people based in place who have that local knowledge, historical knowledge around flooding, et cetera. And so I just would say that we should support this letter.
So your motion would be to receive and support. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Milligan? Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So 9.17 is Town of Bracebridge Council Resolution regarding Elect Respect Pledge. What did you wish to speak to in this one?
I would also say that we, what's the first word? Something and support. What's the first word?
Receive and support.
Receive and support. Yeah, I mean, it is a real problem. We are very lucky at this particular municipality that we all get along, we like each other, but we all know what happens online sometimes and the kind of rise of like vitriol, and it does often impact women. And I just think it's a good thing to support. We do have a next round of municipal elections coming up. We want to maintain cordialness, respect. I just think it is good to support, and I think it's something we all need to be actively working on because it is a rising problem. It's a big reason why people don't get involved in municipal politics because of what you can be in the middle of.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Milligan. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Milligan. No? No discussion? I would just like to add, just to quickly read in case someone is listening. Among other things, this suggests that councils treat others with respect in all spaces, reject and call out harassment and abuse, focus debate on ideas and policies, not personal attacks. As Crystal Lee said, we're fortunate that we've had respectful discussion, and disagreement does not mean dislike. And I would certainly hope that we maintain that in future councillors. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And finally, was that all? No?
9.20. It's from Prince Edward County Resolution
Right.
Support
Yeah.
Bill 21.
So this is Prince Edward County Council Resolution. And I did read this one, and now I forgot what it was about. It's in support of Bill 21, which is a bill that I haven't read yet. Does it go beyond current protection of prime ag? What can you highlight? I didn't have time to look this one up. What it's going to add to the protection of farmland from what you gather?
Well, in the summary that we're supporting, it says support every measure to protect farmland and to aggressively prevent further losses and to ensure the future of agriculture in Ontario for future generations. It comes from Mike Schreiner and our independent MPP, Bobby M. Brady, who really kicked butt in their election. All the details I don't have for you.
No, that's okay. So this is basically an opposition motion that doesn't have a hope in hell, but it's worth
coming, it's an
supporting.
independent
Right.
bill, yeah.
Yeah.
But people, food sovereignty, again, as we're talking about sovereignty and Canadian sovereignty, food sovereignty is a big part of that. Ontario specifically, we are losing the most acreage, 319 acres a day. Farmland in Ontario is the most expensive in the country. It is twice the amount of the second most expensive province, which is British Columbia. So there's a lot of reason why we need to protect farmland, and it's an essential part of our future. So
Is there a seconder for the motion? So you're receiving support? Is your
yes,
your
receive and
motion?
support.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Milligan, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So, Councillor Fenwick, 9.14, just let me get it here so I can. So this is from the Town of Parry Sound Council Resolution, re municipal support for school bus safety and stop arm camera systems. Councillor Fenwick, you wish to move receipt and support?
Yeah, I'd like to move to receive and support this, pardon me. One of the first things that struck me from this was, I mean, obviously it's about school bus safety, and it's hard to believe that 30,000 times a day that people are passing school buses based on this, and to have cameras on the to have the stop arm camera system would be incredibly valuable. I think this is great, but also I think about the speeding through our hamlets, which is a consistent problem as vehicles get snappier and smoother, and it's very difficult sometimes to even tell that you're speeding. People just are oblivious to it. I think this might be very effective. I would love to see a few of these people get a big fat fine from it, and that only happens when you know who they are. So definitely would like to support and receive this.
Is there a seconder? Deputy Reed Davison, any discussion? Having driven school bus at one point in my varied career, I can certainly attest to the idiocy of some people. It wasn't too bad around here, but you do hear things. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right. Any notice of motion or direct motion? Councillor Fenwick.
I just have a notice of motion, pretty straightforward, actually. At the next meeting, I'll be asking for making a motion for staff to identify cost-effective and efficient ways of reminding our residents about the bylaws and fines we have, AMPS, regarding the burning of garbage. Plastics are similar on their property. We all share the same air. Each of us are entitled to enjoy our outdoor spaces. Recycling is free, and the township bags are only $3, and I'd like to remind anybody that's watching, there might not be many, that it was $2 for many, many, many years. So a slight raise is not the end of the world. There's no reason or excuse to burn trash, none at all. So I'd like to see a post on our social media, pop up on our township website, and maybe a few signs that can be used annually at peak times of the year at our landfill sites. We have a captive audience there. It's not a bad place to remind people that it's against the laws and you're polluting the air we breathe. Clean air is something we all benefit from. I think everybody can agree on that, hands down. So I'll be bringing that forward to the next meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Fenwick. Anyone else? Is there a direct motion on an urgent matter? Not. Announcements. I'll just note the upcoming meeting dates. Regular Council, March 23rd. OPP Detachment Board meeting, March 26th. Committee of Adjustment, April 1st. Regular Council meetings in April are the 13th and the 27th. Anyone else have an announcement at this time? Well, in case you hadn't noticed, the clocks have changed and spring is coming. And at this point, we have to move into a closed meeting pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act. The reason for the closed meeting is that Council proceeding to closed meeting is permitted regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for those purposes to the Ontario Aboriginal Housing Support Services Corporation tax exemption application. A mover and seconder to enter into closed session, Councillor Woodcock, Deputy Reeve Davison, all in favor? That's carried, and we'll take a 5-minute break. Okay, we're back from our closed session, and we have a rise and report motion. And would you give the wording for that again, Brandy, please? Sorry.
Through you, Reeve-Wise, the motion would be that council in closed session receive the staff report and directed staff to take no further action.
Can I get a mover and seconder to that effect, please? Councillor Woodcock, Deputy Reeve Davison, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So I will scroll down to the end of my agenda here. I need a mover and seconder for a confirmation bylaw of the proceedings of this evening's meeting. Councillor Woodcock, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? That's carried. Councillor Land, will you move adjournment? And seconded by Councillor Woodcock, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks, everybody. They're nice.